إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. أما بعد، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. ثم أما بعد، يا عباد الله، ماذا بعد رمضان؟ O servants of Allah, what is it going to be after Ramadan? What is going to be our situation after Ramadan? How are you going to be after Ramadan, ya ibad? The Imam, the Mujaddid, Muhammad bin Abdul Wahab, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, اعلم رحمك الله أنه يجب علينا تعلم 4 مسائل. الأولى العلم، وهو معرفة الله ومعرفة نبيه ومعرفة دين الإسلام بالأدلة. الثانية العمل به. الثالثة الدعوة إليه. الرابعة الصبر على أذى فيه. ودليل قوله تعالى بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وقال إمام الشافعي رحمه الله تعالى لو ما أنزل الله حجة على خلقه إلا هذه السورة لكفتهم، والمعنى لكفتهم لوسعتهم. The Imam Muhammad bin Abdul Wahab, the Mujaddid, Shaykh al-Islam, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, know, have knowledge, may Allah have mercy upon you, that it is incumbent, it is wajib, it is obligatory upon each and every one of us that we have knowledge of 4 affairs. The first of them is to have knowledge of your Lord, of His Messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and of the deen of al-Islam, with its proofs and its evidences. ماذا بعد رمضان يا عباد? What's it going to be after Ramadan? Secondly, to act in accordance to that. Thirdly, to give da'wah, to call. Fourthly, to have patience. Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, if Allah didn't reveal any surah or any hujjah upon His creation except for this surah, then it would have been enough for them. And the meaning of been enough for them, meaning it would have covered much. It would have covered much. Ibadullah, these affairs and these issues, they are our program, and they are the way in which we will gain success. And this program that we gain success, that Allah Ta'ala has explained to us and given to us in Surah Al-Asr, it is not something that is time specific. It doesn't only apply in Ramadan, and and then does not apply outside of Ramadan. It applies in Ramadan and other than Ramadan. It applies all the time. So my question is, Ya Ibad, how are we going to be after Ramadan? Because these are things and these are elements that we must have if we want to attain success. So you must be patient, Ya Ibad, in seeking knowledge. You must strive hard to seek knowledge. And first and foremost, you must know the knowledge of At-Tawheed. You must establish this with a firm establishment that has therein no doubts. As we were reading through the Quran, Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, this Ramadan, we will not have finished a surah, completed a surah, except that we would have gotten a lesson in At-Tawheed. So it's upon us to know, and it's upon us to act and to implement. Allah Ta'ala, He says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And I did not create the jinn, nor the mankind, except to worship me. Meaning alone. To worship Allah Ta'ala alone upon At-Tawheed. So where are we going to make the connection? And are we going to make the connection? And have we already made the connection? And are we going to continue to make the connection? These are questions in which you have to answer amongst yourselves. These are questions that you must answer amongst yourselves. Are we going to make the connection between reading the Quran and living in accordance with the Quran? Are we going to make the connection and living in accordance with the Quran and calling people to live their lives as mandated by the Quran? Are we going to make the connection and being patient upon each of these levels? The great Allama, Muhammad Aman al-Jami, rahimahullah ta'ala, he stopped and he made the point to mention that when it comes to patience, we need patience on all of these levels. We need patience on all of these levels. And he went on to explain that if one is not patient when he is seeking knowledge, then he will not be patient upon righteous deeds. And if one is not patient upon righteous deeds, then he won't be patient in calling to Allah Ta'ala. And if one is not patient in giving the da'wah, Ya Ibad, Allahu Musta'an. We need to be patient, Ya Ibad. And the Shaykh also mentioned that patience is most needed in the beginning of the affair. Because this is the catalyst that will set up the situation for the rest of the affair, as we have explained. So we have to be patient, Ya Ibad. So the question now becomes, because each and every one of us has exhibited and has shown that he has within him the quality and the capability of being patient. When he was patient away from his food and his drink, from Fajr to Maghrib, when he was patient away from this and from that. So we have shown that we have the ability to be patient. The question is, are we going to continue this patience in all aspects of our lives? Are we going to continue and utilize this patience when it comes to seeking knowledge? And you know best the answer to that. And if you have any question or any doubt or any false hope, then look back to your previous actions and use them as a measuring stick. How far have you come? How much have you accomplished thus now to this point? You all know where you stand. We must be patient, Ya Ibad, because we need to be better. We need more. All of us, let us look back to our actions inside of Ramadan and before Ramadan. Let us look back to our actions. How were we with regards to our actions? How vigilant were we with regards to the Salah? How many super obligatory prayers did we pray? How much sadaqah did we really give? X, Y, and Z. Look back, because we want more. How did you call to Allah Ta'ala? How much effort did you put into spreading the deen of Allah Ta'ala? Whether that be by a good word, some knowledge that you have learned. Or whether that be by spending in the way of Allah Ta'ala to help facilitate the call to Allah. Whether that be by purchasing a book and giving it as a gift. Purchasing a tape and giving it as a gift. Pointing one to a website that they can go to and benefit. How much effort, how much thought did we really put into this? So the point is, ya ibad, is that we must strive. We must work hard upon patience. And patience, the end result of patience is beautiful. As the poet, he said, وَالصَّبْرُ كَإِسْمِهِ مُرُّ مُذَاقَتِهِ لَكِنْ عَاقِبَتُهُ أَحْلَى مِنَ الْعَسْلِ. He said that patience is like its name, bitter to the taste. Patience is like its name, bitter to the taste. But the end result of it is sweeter than honey. The end result is sweeter than honey. So as you strove in Ramadan patiently to read through the Quran, how are you going to be after Ramadan with regards to your reading of the Quran? Because the Sahaba, this was not their way. That only in Ramadan will they read the Quran. And then after Ramadan they will put it back up on the shelf and let it collect dust for the rest of the year. After Ramadan they will forget about it for the rest of the year. La ya ibad. This was not their way. This was not how they conducted themselves. This was not their characteristics. They were constant in reading the Quran. Constant in reading the Quran. Some of the ulama, they say on average, they will finish the Quran every week. On average. You had some every 3 days. You had some every 10 days. But on average, every week, they will read from Al-Fatiha to Nas. Where are we from them? What's it going to be after Ramadan? You have patiently in Ramadan gotten yourself accustomed to reading the Quran vigorously. Take that with you when Ramadan leaves as well. You have accustomed yourself in Ramadan to pray something from Qiyamul Layl. Whether before you sleep or after you sleep, you have prayed some raka'at in the night. Take that with you after Ramadan. There may be sisters who have covered and put on the hijab inside of Ramadan. Take that with you after Ramadan. There may be individuals who have taken to deeds and left off certain sins in which they were doing in Ramadan. Continue that after Ramadan. Because Allah is Allah. Whether it's Ramadan or it's not Ramadan, Allah is Allah, and you will be held accountable. What's right is what's right, whether it's Ramadan or not Ramadan, and you will be held accountable. What is wrong, whether it is Ramadan or it's not Ramadan, and you will be held accountable. Just like it's haram for you women to leave your house without the khimar in Ramadan, it's also haram outside of Ramadan. Just like it is haram for you men and you women to be staring at the opposite sex and talking and flirting and laughing and playing with the opposite sex in Ramadan. Likewise, it is haram outside of Ramadan. We are not here forever, ya ibad. Our time here will come to an end. And then reality shall set in. So how are you going to be after Ramadan? أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد. عباد, We have only been put here for a very short period of time. And it is incumbent that we take full advantage of this time. Allah Ta'ala, He says, ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر. Allah Ta'ala, He says, what means, have you become preoccupied with the gathering of wealth until you visit the graves? The Allama Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that سمع الأعرابي رجلا يقرأ قول الله تعالى ألهاكم التكاثر فقال الأعرابي والله الزائر ليس بمقيم. He says that a desert Arab, a Bedouin, he heard a man reciting these verses. Have you become preoccupied with wealth until you are visitors of the grave, until you visit the grave? That Bedouin, when he heard that, he said, by Allah, the visitor is not a resident. The visitor is not a resident. Meaning what, ya ibad? Meaning that grave is not the final abode. You will be but a visitor in that grave. And then you will move on from that to either one of two locations. Either it will be the Jannah or it will be the Nar. Either you will move on to the paradise or you will move on to the hellfire. And that will be based upon what you put forth from actions inside of that time before the grave. That will be dependent upon what you put forth from actions before you reach the grave. And bila shak, the tawfiq is from Allah Ta'ala. But what efforts are you putting forth, ya ibad? As one of the poets, he said, لا خير في الدنيا لمن لم يكن له من الله في دار مقام نصيب فإن تعجب الدنيا رجالا فإنه متاع قليل والزوال قريب. He said, there is no good in this dunya. There is no good in this dunya if an individual will not have from Allah in the everlasting abode a portion. That in this dunya there is no good if you do not have from Allah in al-Jannah a portion. He said, and even if some men have become amazed, have become mesmerized by this dunya, he said, then verily it is only a small fleeting pleasure. It is only a small fleeting pleasure which will soon depart. This is the reality of this dunya. It is a small pleasure that will soon depart. It will soon leave you. And then you'll be left with that which you put forward. So as we realize this reality, we realize that we cannot afford to be vigilant upon our religion 1 month a year. We would realize that we cannot afford to obey Allah 1 month a year. We will realize that we cannot afford to stay away from that which Allah Ta'ala has prohibited 1 month a year. We cannot afford to obey the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam just 1 month a year, nor to stay away from what he has prohibited 1 month a year. We cannot afford that, ya ibad. We cannot afford that, ya ibad. So my question now, as it was at the beginning, ماذا بعد Ramadan? How are you going to be after Ramadan? Because these things that we're speaking about, they are reality. That equation of success that is in Surah Al-Asr. This is the reality. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. This is the reality. By the token of time, verily, no doubt, mankind is in a state of loss. Loss! Except who? Except those who are adorned with these characteristics that come in the last ayah. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Except for those who believe. And that belief is based upon knowledge. A person can't believe in something he's ignorant about. That belief is based on knowledge. And then they act upon that knowledge. They call to that knowledge and then they're patient. This is the reality. Whether it's Ramadan or not, that does not change. This is the reality for success. If you are not adorned with those characteristics, you are in a state of loss. Whether it's Ramadan or not. The reality is that we're only here for a very short period of time. Allah Ta'ala, He says, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every soul will taste death. Every soul will taste death. This reality does not change. Whether it's Ramadan, whether it's Shawwal, whether it's Dhul Qa'dah, it does not matter. It does not change. You will taste death. You will taste death, ya ibad. If you understand this is the case, if you understand that it does not end with the grave, then you have to work hard. You have to work hard. You have to put forth some provisions so that you will have a portion, inshallah ta'ala, in that everlasting abode. Be not deceived, ya ibad. And for those who are deceived, let us be reminded. Allah Ta'ala, He says, أَلْهَاكُمُ التَّكَاثُرُ. Have you become preoccupied in chasing wealth? Chasing the dollar? Worrying about a paycheck? The only thing that consumes you is worrying about paying bills and buying this and purchasing that? Have you become preoccupied with the gathering of wealth? So much so, and to the extent that you will be like that, so preoccupied until death overtakes you, until you are an occupant of the grave. Have you become preoccupied to that extent that you chase the dunya to your own detriment, that you chase the dunya until death comes? Because when death comes, it's over. There's no wait, give me more time. Wait, now I will pray. Wait, now I will cover. Wait, now I will obey Allah. Wait, now I will get righteous. No! If it didn't happen prior to that, that's how you going out. If it happened prior to that, that's how you leave in this dunya. Allah Ta'ala, He says, كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. No, you're going to know that the situation does not necessitate you gathering the wealth, chasing the wealth, being preoccupied with the wealth. You're going to come to know. ثُمَّ كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. Verily again you will come to know. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, you will know, ya ibad. كَلَّا لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عِلْمَ الْيَقِينِ. No, and if you knew, if you had knowledge, with a sound, certain knowledge, لَتَرَوُونَ الْجَحِيمِ, that verily no doubt you're going to see the hellfire. That verily no doubt you're going to gaze and look at the hellfire. ثُمَّ لَتَرَوُنَّهَا عَيْنَ الْيَقِينِ. And then you're going to see it with a certain eye. You're going to gaze upon it, look at it, see it with a certain eye. ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. And then on that day, you will be asked about that in which you gain pleasure in. Then on that day, you will be asked about that in which you used to gain pleasure in. Do we understand these ayat, ya ibad, whoever is stricken with the ailment, whoever is in need of rehab, this is enough to shock you sober. Allah Ta'ala, He's telling you that verily no doubt you'll be asked about that in which you gain pleasure in. The ulama from the Salaf, they had many statements about what is meant by this ayah. From them, there were those who say that you'll be questioned about the cool drink. From them, there were those who said you'll be questioned about the bread in which you eat that you put salt on. You'll be questioned about that which you gain pleasure in general, so on and so forth. Everything that is pleasurable, you will be asked about it. Everything that is your heart's delight, you will be asked about it. Everything that is your heart's delight, you will be asked about it. Everything, ya ibad. Understand what that means. That means everything. So woe to the one who finds pleasure in that which Allah has made haram. Woe to you. Woe to the one who finds pleasure in that which Allah has made haram. Woe to the one who finds pleasure in that which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has made haram. You'll be questioned about that. You find pleasure in music. You find pleasure in hip-hop. You find pleasure in country and western. You find pleasure in jazz. You'll be asked about that. You find pleasure in riba, interest. You'll be asked about that. You find pleasure in cheating, robbing, and stealing. You'll be asked about that. You find pleasure in having haram relationships. You'll be asked about that. You find pleasure in pornography. You'll be asked about that. You find pleasure in intoxicants. You'll be asked about that. Woe to the one who finds pleasure in that which Allah has made haram. Verily you'll be asked about it. Just like you'll be asked about those things in which you gain pleasure in. From the halal, you'll be asked about those things in which you gain pleasure in. From the haram, woe to the one who finds pleasure in the haram. This is not a joke. This is not a game. And if you think it is, it's only to your own destruction. Yeah, ibad. We, the people who claim the Kitab and the Sunnah, we must strive hard to rectify ourselves. It is easy to look outside of yourself and find all the faults in your brothers, all the faults in your sisters. This is an easy thing to do. Let us take some time looking at ourselves. And this is not to negate calling to good and forbidding evil. We must still call to good and forbid evil. Yes. But let us begin with ourselves, calling ourselves to good and forbidding ourselves from evil. If we see evil inside of our brothers and our sisters, then let us address it in the best way, at the best time, in the best manner. But let us not make that all of our concern. Let us take time to benefit ourselves, because we are the ones who claim that we are upon the Sunnah. So the poet, he said, Ya ma'shar al-qurra, ya milh al-balad, la yuslih al-milhu idha milh al-fasid. He said, oh, reciters of the Quran. Oh, reciters of the Quran. Meaning what? Meaning, oh, people of the Quran. Who are the people of the Quran? The people of the Kitab and the Sunnah. They are the people of the Quran. Not other than them. The people upon the methodology of the Salaf. They are the people of the Quran. Not other than them. They are the true people of the Quran. These are the people who we are claiming we are. So he goes on and he says, oh, people of the Quran. Oh, the most prestigious ones of the land. Know that the prestigious will not rectify if they themselves are corrupt. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم وأقيم.